Will you, as you go, will you observe the feminine endings as we whip by?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Why does Yelid become Yalid?
Okay, yes, exactly. We'll get there.
Hmm.
So just a reminder, our very strange story continues with plenty of ambiguities and what's up with all of this, which we began as we looked at the Pharaoh decision that all boys had to be thrown into the water, Moses's mother, what was that all about? And who are these unnamed Levi man and woman? Where did they come from? And then what's up with Pharaoh's daughter opening the basket, the little baby ark,
Mm.
whatever, saying, "Oh, a Hebrew boy. Dad wants it killed. I think I'll take it home." And then where did this daughter come from? How old is she? We have no idea. How old is the baby? We know the baby is 3 months old. And how long is the baby in that basket in the water? Is it a great coincidence that no sooner does the sister hide than the baby is discovered by Pharaoh's daughter and all of her maids? In any case, we left off with the Pharaoh's daughter looking in the basket saying, "Ooh, a baby. What fun." How old is Pharaoh's daughter? We don't know. And all of a sudden she says, "Oh, look, a Hebrew boy." And then this Hebrew girl comes rushing out from behind the bush and says, "Hey, lady, you want a nursemaid for that baby? I'll get you one." And that's where we left off.
Mm.
And now here we are on verse 8. Vatomer la bat paro lechi vatelech ha'alma vatikra et em hayaled. So what's up with this whole thing? Vatomer, again, the Taf tells us we're a feminine and she said. We're so used to Vayomer and he said. But here it's, and she said, Vatomer la, and she said to her. So the previous verse had Pharaoh had the sister saying to Pharaoh's daughter, "You want me to go find a woman from among his people to nurse him?" And Pharaoh's daughter now says to her, and this is the Tomer la bat paro, and said to her, the daughter of Pharaoh, and she says, "Lechi," one word, and lechi again is a feminine singular imperative. Go. Holech, lalechet. So she says, "Go." We know lechi from lech lecha,
Oh, yeah.
lechi lach from Debbie Friedman.
Yes.
Lechi is the feminine. Lech would be the masculine go. Lechi is the feminine go. So that's all she does. She says, "Go." One would assume she says, "Go and do all those things you just told me," but she doesn't say "go and do it." She just says "go."
She does it with a hand gesture.
Yeah, you're very dismissive, bot paro type hand gesture. So she probably doesn't say go. She says go.
No, she's concerned about the baby feeding,
Yeah,
and
this
she has
baby that
some,
was,
yeah, give
and
her
she says, "Oh,
credit.
look, I can take the baby because they did what Dad said. They threw it in the water." Anyway, vatelech, and then that again is feminine, and she went. We're used to vayelech, and he went. Vatelech, and who is it? Who is the she that went? Ha'alma. And an alma is a young maiden,
Oh.
erroneously translated through the Greek and the Latin into virgin.
Ah. Mm.
So alma is just an unmarried woman, a young, not quite marriageable age woman or girl. So the maiden, the young maiden, goes, Vatikra, and she called, and again, not Vayikra, but Vatikra. So all these tafs at the beginning of our verbs are telling us they're feminine.
Uh,
All the first, the T, okay.
Yeah, the taf tells us yikra would be he calls, tikra is she calls, telech, she goes, yelech, he goes.
Thank you.
So that's our feminine indicator. And she calls Em Hayaled, the mother of the boy. What a coincidence that the only available nursing woman to be hired to Pharaoh now is the boy's own mother. And again, the Yaled, like Aretz and Gafen, this is the verbal punctuation of we've gotten to the end of the sentence or phrase. So it would have been Vatikra et Em Hayaled,
But why is it not Yeled?
because that would be then the middle of a phrase or a sentence.
Oh, because it's the final word?
It's again verbal punctuation.
yeah.
Vatomer la, and she said to her, Bat Paro. So this is who is the she that's talking again? That's the daughter of Pharaoh says to her, and she says to her, and we're not quite sure who the her is now because there doesn't seem to be any her to talk to since the sister has already run off to get the mom. So we've got again some stage directions that have to be left up to the director to figure out who's being put on stage, off stage, where are we going? But Helichi et hayeled hazeh. So Helichi is a causative form of the verb going, lech. So we can see that same lichi,
Yeah.
lichi. We see that in there. Helichi is cause to go. And cause the boy to go. Cause this boy to go. In other words, take this boy. So it sounds like Bat Paro is talking to the mother of the boy, but somewhere between verse 8 and verse 9, we never got the mother brought to.
You wouldn't use the word send, cause to go?
I wouldn't use send because that has a different root. Going out. Send is like motzi. Send forth.
Mhm.
Let my people go is from the sending word, not the going word. So this is cause to go, but we don't really have a good English word for causing to go. So that's why I translated as take.
Oh, take?
Yeah, take. Because if we were to say send, then that would have been she would have been talking to the sister saying, send the boy off to the mother.
Mm.
But here, somehow between verse 8 and verse 9, the mother has now been brought to Pharaoh's daughter. But verse 8 ends with the sister calling the mother, and suddenly Pharaoh is talking to the mother.
Oh,
So where'd she come from?
You mean the daughter of Pharaoh?
Yeah.
The daughter of Pharaoh is talking to the mother of the baby.
Right.
So, and the mother was hiding in the next tree over. So, verse 9, the daughter of Pharaoh says to the mother of the baby, Helichi et hayeled hazeh. So take this baby, but again, we have the sense of causing it to go. That is, take it away from me. Cause it to go back with you. Heinikihu. And here we have a whole bunch of the Niki stuff in the middle is the word for nursing. Heiniki is the causative, cause to nurse. The who at the end is him. Cause him to nurse. In other words, just in English, nurse him. Li, for me. So nurse him for me, since Pharaoh's daughter is obviously not at this point lactating.
right.
So she takes a lactating woman and says, nurse this baby on my behalf. Heiniki hu li. Nurse him for me. Va'ani eten et secharech, vatikach ha'isha hayeled vatini kehu. So, va'ani eten et secharech, I will give you your wage. Sachar is a wage, payment. Secharech, again, that ending tells us is feminine. Secharecha would be your masculine wage. Secharech, your feminine wage. So the ech is that feminine ending of the second person. Vatikach, again, and she took. Ha'isha, that is the woman. The woman took. Hayeled, the boy. And here it's yeled because it's still the middle of a sentence or a phrase. And vatini kehu, and she nursed him. So the tini ke, she nursed, the who at the end, him. 10. And we have some time frame lost between 8 and 9. Now we have a big time frame lost between 9 and 10 because all of a sudden she takes him, she nurses him. Vayigdal hayeled, vativiehu levat paro, vayihi la leven, vatikra shemo Moshe, vatomer ki min hamayim mishi tihu. Verse 10, Vayigdal hayeled, the boy got big. Usually translated as he got older or he grew up, but literally the boy became big. How big? He was so big. No, we don't know. How old is Moshe? He's now, by the way, no longer a baby, a tinoket. By the way, the word for baby, tinoket, comes from the word nikihu, nursing.
Oh.
So a baby is one at the age of nursing. When he stops being at the age of nursing, he becomes a yeled, he becomes a boy, an offspring. So now, Vayigdal hayeled, the boy got big. Vativiehu levat paro, and tiviehu, the root bo is come. Tiviehu caused him to come, in other words, brought him. So now mom is bringing him back because he's gotten big. We don't know why mom brings him back. She could have said, well, I've nursed him till he was 14. We have no idea how old he is. I would assume he's a toddler and mom has said, all right, I did my job. Now you take care of this little whiny, spoiled brat. Yeah, we have no idea. She brings him back. She takes him. She nurses him. He gets bigger. She brings him back. Levat paro, to the daughter of Pharaoh. And so now Vayehi, notice the yud, we're in masculine. And he was la to her. And the hey at the end with a dot inside of it tells us that we're in the feminine possessive. So she brings to Bat Pharaoh him, Vayehi la levain, and he was now to her for a son. So Bat Paro fosters him, guardians him, adopts him. We don't have the papers anymore in the text, so we don't know what, but he becomes either, and it wasn't like, they could have said, Vayehi la kevain, like a son. But here it says, Vayehi la livain, he was brought to her, he becomes to her for a son. So this would seem to indicate that he's adopted. And finally, he's no longer baby from the ark. He gets a name. Vatikra shemo Moshe, and she calls his name Moshe. And Moshe, Massa, is actually an Egyptian name. But the editor of the text, or the storyteller of the text, gives us an etymology for this legendary figure that is part of the story of the people of Israel, this Moshe guy from Egypt with a good Egyptian name, and makes the Egyptian name a Hebrew name by giving it a Hebrew etymology.
Wait, could you say that again?
The
Because
Yeah,
don't we think
so
of a name, his name also Moises?
no, he's Moshe. He's only Moises in either in Yiddish or in a little variant pronunciation of the Egyptian name Mosa.
Hmm.
And there are pharaohs with the Mosa name as part of their name. So yes, Moshe is the Hebrew pronunciation of a very valid Hebrew name. So for the biblical author, this figure that unites us from family into peoplehood is an Egyptian figure, but he has to become a Hebrew figure. So we're going to give you a Hebrew reason for his name being Moshe. But again, from the standpoint of our understanding the text as it may have been in an Egyptian story, why would the daughter of Pharaoh, who has now taken a Hebrew boy, who has not been named by his Hebrew mother, or maybe was, and Pharaoh's daughter didn't like that name, and Pharaoh's daughter would give him not a Hebrew name when she brings him into the court, but would give him an Egyptian name? In the same way, remember when Joseph is brought into the court and married to the daughter of Potipharah, what does the Pharaoh do way back in Genesis? Pharaoh gives Joseph an Egyptian name. If you become part of the Egyptian court, you get an Egyptian name. So Moses here is an Egyptian name, but for the parenthetical note by the biblical author, into the mouth of the daughter of Pharaoh, Vatomer, she says, Ki min hamayim mishitihu. And notice in the word mishitihu is the Moshe. This, by the way, is pretty much the only place that we get mishi as being a bringing out or a drawing out. But mishitihu min hamayim, from the water I drew him out. I pulled him out.
Where are you?
At the right before the verse 11.
Can I ask a question about that, Mishitihu? Is that from the word shotet? Is that lishtot? Is that related?
If you want.
Oh,
Yeah, no, I mean,
seems like a coincidence. I don't know.
it's a bit of a stretch naming Moshe, using the word Mishitihu, drawing out, it's telling us that Mishitihu means drawing out, so that we can connect it to the Egyptian name Moshe and make it a Hebrew name.
Oh,
So yeah, where did we get the word Mishitu, Mishita, or Mishi, or whatever, Mishit? Yeah, sure. You want it from Shota, you know, when I drink water, I draw the water out of the cup into my mouth.
Is this word only for, does this word mean to draw out generally or to draw out of the water? Is it a water word?
It actually means to draw out here in this text only.
Oh,
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 This
okay.
is not a common Hebrew word that we use all the time when we're talking about drawing out water. All those times that we have, all of the meetings at the well and they draw
Yeah.
out the water, and that's not the word they use.
Oh, interesting. Okay, thank you.
And we'll see that when Moses meets the daughters of Midian, the daughters of the Midianite priest, in more red story to follow. So yeah, we've got a bit of a stretch here. And by the way, Vatomer and she says his name. She says the reason for the name, and she called his name. We don't know if this was the daughter of Pharaoh in the connection in the context of the verse 10. We say yes, this was Pharaoh's daughter saying it. But remember that his mother has had him for some indefinite period of time, numbered in years, most likely, maybe 1 or 2 or 3, but still years. So, and she never named the child. We have no name for this kid all the time that he's being nursed by his mother. In any case, that's his name. We have no other name. Then another jump in time from 10 to 11. Vayhi bayamim hahem vayigdal Moshe vayetze el echav vayar besivlotam vayar ish mitzri makeh ish ivri me'echav. So verse 11, Vayehi bayamim hahem, and it was in those days. Those days is one of those wonderful once upon a time.
Where's the word those?
Bayamim hahem.
Him.
Hahem is literally the them. But bayamim ha'ele would be these days, or yom zeh, this day, yom hu, that day. Yamim ela, these days, yamim hahem, those days. In them thar days. So how much time between 9 and 10 for him to get bigger? We don't know. How much time between 10 and 11 for him to get bigger? We don't know. I mean, clearly something's going on, because let us say that she nursed the kid for 3 years, which Sarah did with Yitzchak. So by some stretch, she nursed him for 3 years and then brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, and Pharaoh's daughter named him, and he's called Moshe. I guarantee you a 3-year-old did not go wandering out into the field and see a taskmaster beating a Hebrew and then kill the taskmaster. So what's our time jump from 10 to 11? Vayamim hahem, in those days, Vayigdal Moshe, Moses grows up. More. What is he now? 12, 15, 31, 50. Is he, a hair trigger teenager, anger management young adult? So that's already our, how old is he? Vayihi bayamim haem, and in those days, Vayigdel Moshe, Moses grows up more. Vayetze el echav, and he goes to his brothers. He's been adopted by Pharaoh's daughter.
Oh.
He's been raised by Pharaoh's daughter. He's living in the court of Pharaoh's daughter. How does he know that those guys over there are his brothers? His brethren. And here echav literally can't mean brothers. It has to mean brethren, which means that all of the girls out there would be his cisterns. So he goes to his brothers, his brethren. He goes out to his brothers. Vayetze, he goes out. So he leaves the court. He goes to where the Hebrews are toiling and tasking away, and they are his brethren. Do they know that this Egyptian-dressed, Egyptian-looking guy from the palace is their brethren, their brother? We're not told. Does Moses know these are his brothers? Or does the author tell us that these are his brothers, but Moses doesn't know it? all of that is up to whatever midrash you like to write about the material that's not here. Questions? Okay, so he goes out to his brothers, Vayar, and he saw Besivlotam in their labors, their burdens, their heavy stuff that they were doing. So he sees them in their burdens. And this is all a very simple Vayar, and he saw. And then Vayar, and he saw. So there's not a lot of time frame. So this becomes sort of the passion of the moment. Vayar Besivlotam, and he sees in their burdens. Vayar Ish Mitzri, Makeh Ish Ivri. And he sees a man of the Egyptians, an Egyptian man, Makeh, hitting Ish Ivri, a man of the Hebrews, a Hebrew man. So he sees a taskmaster with a whip doing what his job is, to whip. So he sees an Egyptian beating or hitting or whipping a Hebrew me'echav from his brothers. And again, we're reminded here that these are Moses's kinfolk. What we're not told is this a sense of righteous indignation about a taskmaster whipping a servant or slave, or is this a sense of kinship compassion? And the answer is take your pick, of course. Because the text really doesn't make it clear, other than the author is telling us that these are his kinfolk. 12. And now the wonderful stuff. What does Moses do when he sees it happening? First thing he does, Vayifen ko vacho. So verse 12, Vayifen ko vacho, Vayar ki ein ish, Vayach et hamitzri, Vayit minehu bachol. So Vayifen ko vacho, literally he glances around, ko vacho, here and there, hither and yon, hither and thither. He looks here and here and there. He looks all around. Vayar, again, we've got this, and he sees, very quick. What does he see? Ein ish, there is no man. So Vayar ki ein ish, he sees that he and this taskmaster and the Hebrew are the only people on stage. Nobody else is around. Which is rather strange, again, in a setting where there are whole bunches of Hebrews toiling away. And here we have, out in the middle of the field, in the middle of the construction site, one Hebrew man, one Egyptian taskmaster, and Moses. But in any case, he looks to see if anybody's watching, and apparently, as far as he knows, nobody's watching. Vayach. And Vayach is, again, we're in very, very short words here. So we're in very terse, tense action. Vayach is the same word as the makeh, strike or hit. Vayach, and he struck. Et hamitzrei, he struck the Egyptian. By the way, it does not say he killed the Egyptian. It simply says he hit him. And then very next thing he does, Vayit minehu bachol, and the taman is the hiding or putting out of sight. Vayit mine, and he put out of sight, he hid, who, him, so he hid him, bachol, in the sand. So
he buried him.
Buried him in the sand. But it never says he killed him, he just hit him.
Oh, we have to give him some credit that he wouldn't have buried a live person.
Well, he knocked him out, and he didn't check for a pulse or a breath. Again,
Can I
Oh,
ask a question
very,
about,
very quick, short verbs, very quick action, and a lot of stuff not really told to us. Yes.
last week, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago, we talked about Saffron and how that is hide.
Well,
So I
that's a
didn't
different, that's a
know-
different, yeah, the hidden place.
Yeah, so that's a play, so Saffron is
Here
a
it's
place.
more of, he secreted him, that is, he
Hmm.
buried him.
Okay,
He secreted him in the sand.
okay, thank you. Okay.
And then verse 13, Vayetze bayom hasheni. We now have a time frame. Next day. Vayetze bayom hashvi'i, and he went out in a second day. So the next day, V'hine, and behold. So verse 13, Vayetze bayom hasheni, V'hine shnei anashim ivrim, nitzim, Vayomer larasha lama takeh re'echa. So Vayetze bayom hasheni, he goes out in the second day. V'hine, behold, shnei anashim ivrim, two Hebrew men. And what are they doing? Nitzim, they're striving. They're fighting each other. They're striving with each other. Vayomer, and he said, so since this seems to be in context a whole Moses story, we can assume truly it's Moses who says it. Vayomer la Rasha, and he says to the bad one. So he comes out on the second day, sees two people fighting. We're in very short verbs, we're in very quick action, and immediately he snaps to judgment as to which one's wrong.
which is bad man, the bad one.
Rasha. The Rasha is the bad guy. And on Purim we read about Haman HaRasha, Haman the bad guy. Rasha is a bad one. And he says to the bad one, the one at fault, the one that seems to be the instigators, or the one that he assumes was the instigator, maybe he's the big guy, or he's dressed in poor clothes, or he's got a look that Moses doesn't like. But whatever, he says to him, Lama takeh re'echa, why are you striking your neighbor? So we go quickly from they are striving with one another to Moses confronting one of them, whom he assumes to be the bad guy. He says, why are you hitting your neighbor? And by the way, notice he says neighbor, not brother.
Hmm.
Even though in the Torah text, Moses sees them as brethren, as brothers. When he sees two Hebrews, he calls them neighbors, as opposed to why are you hitting your brother?
Hmm. Which is the word for neighbors?
The re'echa.
Reacha?
Ve'ahavta l're'acha kamocha. You shall love your neighbor as yourself.
Hmm.
So again, Midrash likes to play with all sorts of things in the text for which we don't have a clear, simple answer, or we have a clear, simple answer, but we don't like it, so we make it complicated. But even to the extent of why does Moses say neighbor rather than brother?
Hmm.
How does Moses jump to the conclusion that one of them is the wrong one?
Yeah.
All of that can lead to then Midrash.
Yep.
And once again, the Midrash might be in one direction or another direction. The Midrash might be a whole sermon about difference between brethren and kinfolk and neighbors, and they want a place where they can pin that to Torah. So they take this story about Moses and his kinfolk and Moses treating kinfolk as neighbors to each other rather than forcing them to see each other as kinfolk. There's all sorts of fun, play, sermon, moral that you can get if you choose to. All you have to do is write the midrash. And that's what the rabbis did. Verse 14, Vayomer, now we're back to notice lots of masculine.
Right.
So Vayomer, mi samcha leish sar v'shofet aleinu, halahargeni ata omer ka'asher haragta et hamitzri, vayira Moshe, Vayomer, achen noda hadavar. And so these two guys who are fighting with each other about what we don't know, to what extent we don't know. Do they see each other as wrong, or are they just having a little fun wrestling match during their work break?
Yeah.
We don't know what they're doing. Moses intervenes. Did they ask him to intervene? Did they need him to intervene? What's Moses doing here? We don't know. Because what's their response? Verse 14, Vayomer, and he said. So one would assume the he who said it is the one that Moses confronted, the Rasha, or the one that Moses thinks is the Rasha. So he says, Mi samcha leish sar v'shofet aleinu. Who samcha put you, sam is put. If you read it as sham, it's there. So make sure you read the dot on the left side, the sin. Who put you, leish sar v'shofet? Sar is a prince or a one of authority, and shofet is a judge.
Mm.
So who made you the authority man and judge man? Ish sar v'shofet, a man who would be an authority and a judge. So the one that Moses has confronted says back to him, who put you in charge? Monty Python and the Holy Grail, who made you king? I don't remember voting for a king. So the response is, who put you in charge of us? So, mi samcha leish sar v'shofet aleinu, who put you for a man of authority and judgment over us? And then he goes on, and remember this ha at the beginning of a verb is the indicator that here comes a question. We knew the first part was a question because it said me, which is who, which is a question word. But the next one, lehargeni ata, harag is to kill. Leharag, to kill. Lehargeni, to kill me, the E ending. So you will kill me is lehar. Are you here to kill me? So that's lehargeni ata, you to kill me. But then the ha lehargeni, are you going to kill me, Omer? So this is the Omer is just sort of the word saying, but one could read it as it is said. So are you here to kill me as it is said? Ka'asher haragta et hamitzri, as you killed that Egyptian.
Mm.
So you saw an injustice yesterday, and you killed the guy that you assumed was doing the injustice. And now you see me doing what you assume to be an injustice. Are you going to kill me too, like you did yesterday with that guy? And the Omer, the saying, is more a matter of as I've heard, as it said. So the word has gotten out. Moses thought nobody was watching, except that who was still alive at the end of yesterday's confrontation? The Hebrew that was being struck.
Mm.
And what do you think that Hebrew man did when he went back to the rest of the folk? This Egyptian came out yesterday and killed the taskmaster. Probably said it with a sense of relief and delight, but the word gets around that there's this Egyptian guy walking around killing people that he thinks are doing wrong things. There's this Egyptian kid, young adult, unknown age, walking around among us in need of real anger management.
Yeah.
So that's the confrontation now that we're going to end with. Are you going to kill me like you killed that Egyptian yesterday? So I've heard. That's the impact of all those words that are in there. Halahargeni ata omer ka'asher haragta et hamitzri. Again, strange construction of language. And Moses' response is Vayira. And this is not the Vayar, and he saw. The two yuds tells us that the root is yara, which is that word for fear, trembling, awe,
Oh, vaya.
that is sometimes translated as awe, sometimes translated as fear. And that's why I like to translate it as the thing that causes trembling or a deep sense of something. So Vayira Moshe, Moses was awed, certainly feared, but he was awed that the word had gotten out so quickly that he was walking around and killed an Egyptian.
Hmm.
Vayomar, and he said, Achen noda hadavar. Achen is truly, certainly, thus. Noda comes from Yodea, but it's the passive, is known. Hadavar, the thing.
Hmm.
So the thing I did yesterday is now apparently well known. How well known?
Enough.
Next week. Vayishma Paro, and Pharaoh heard et hadavar. So it's so well known, the word gets back to Pharaoh. That's where we're going to be reading for practice next week. Here's the text. And again, it's part 3, but it says 1123 in the title for this page in the materials. So on November 23rd, Sunday before Thanksgiving, we'll be reading Vayishma Paro et hadavar hazeh, Vayevakesh laharog et Moshe. Vayivrach Moshe mipnei Pharaoh, and here notice again, mipnei vowel Pharaoh. Vayeshev be'eretz Midyan, Vayeshev al ha'be'er. Ulechohen Midyan sheva banot, vatavona, vatidlena, and again, notice lots of tafs here, so we're back with feminine language. Vatimalena et harchatim, lahashkot tson avihen. 17. Vayavo haroim, vayigarashum, vayakom Moshe, vayoshiean, vayashk et tsonam. 18. Vatavona el Reuel avihen, vayomer madua miharten bo hayom. And then miharten, notice that nun ending. In the ending, nun is the feminine, mem is the masculine. In the beginning, taf is the feminine, yud is the masculine. So your little clues to
Which
Uh,
word are you on? Which word are you
So
on?
any of these any of these verbs, a taf at the beginning tells us that
Feminine.
it's feminine. A yud would tell it's masculine. In any of these kinds of possessives, a nun at the end tells us feminine. The mem that we're more used to, like sonam, would be masculine.
Oh.
And then a double clue, the taf at the beginning, feminine, and the na, the nun sofit with a vowel, feminine. So 19, Vatomar na ish mitzri hitzilanu miyad haroim v'gam dalo dala lanu vayashk et hatzon. And yeah, just practice with this vayashk. 20, Vayomer el benotav va'ayo lama ze azavten et ha'ish kir en lo vayochal lachem. And again, lachem, end of a verb or for end of a sentence or a passage. Not lechem, but lachem. Vayoel Moshe lashevet et ha'ish vayiten et Tzipora bito leMoshe. Our material for next week.